Hey, hello, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you back with us today, folks, as we rock and roll. And of course, the red wave didn't materialize. And if you remember my last podcast, I was saying I wish we had a red wave. I wish it'd be a tsunami. I wish it'd be an earthquake dealing with the elections. But that's not what happened. And let me tell you something, folks. I'm probably a little different than most people. I'm not watching TV and watching for somebody to tell me what to think. And when I was laughing a little bit because I'm going, did I want a red wave? Absolutely. I wanted a tsunami. I wanted an earthquake because we needed to send a message that Biden and the Democrats are sending us in the wrong direction. They're sending us in the wrong direction. And so here's the problem with that. If people vote to continue to send the country in the wrong direction, you know what that tells an elected official? It tells an elected official that I can do anything I want to do. I can create anything I want to create. And if people vote for me, you're telling them, keep doing what you've been doing. So if you like high interest rates and you like high inflation and you like fentanyl coming across the border and killing kids and killing people, and you like people coming across and committing crime, and you like high prices at the grocery store, and you like high gas prices, then voting Democrat, you did the right thing because you like the direction the country's headed in. Yet all the polls we saw is people don't like the direction the country's headed in. Then why do they vote for so many Democrats? So anyway, that a little later in the program, I want to talk a little bit about the election, and that's still a big thing going on right now. But there was no red wave, and that's what I told people. Don't tell me something, show me something. I'm a college football fan, love it. And I watch all these shows, and I try to watch them to see what they're going to talk about. They're experts. By the way, folks, I'm not an expert in anything. But when people tell you they're experts or they have an expert on and they start telling you stuff, run, because they're going to miss it. I watch it in college football every week, and this team's going to beat this team, and this team's got this. And you look up, and it never turns out that way. Very seldom. So that's kind of what took place with the election. There was just no red wave. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about elections and the fact that we had elections Tuesday. And today they're still counting ballots in Arizona, Nevada, and will be Alaska, California. They're still counting ballots on an election we held Tuesday. Now I want you to think about that. Why are we counting ballots still? In the days where we had less technology, less communication, we didn't have all this social media. The computers and the technology was not there. We used to always find out who won the night of, and the worst thing would happen would be maybe another day. And that's not taking place now. What's taking place is it seems like when there's a swing state involved, it goes down to elections not being counted that night, number one. And number two, it's always in the swing states, but it's always in just certain counties or certain precincts. And so I am not a conspiracy nut. I don't play those games, okay? And somebody asked me the other day, do you think the elections were stolen in 2020? I think the elections were adjusted so Donald Trump couldn't win. And what I mean by that is mail-in ballots. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about ballots and voting and what we need to do, okay? And number two, a little bit about the Democrats and the people that are voting this way. Don't expect anything to change. Expect it to get worse because you've seen the fruits of their labor over the last couple of 3 years, and you chose to look the other way and go with the same people that are causing your gas prices to go up, your food prices to go up, shortage of baby formula. And people voted that way. So that tells me they like what's going on in the country. So dealing with elections, okay, it's funny because, and I live in Louisiana for people that don't know, and I know you're going, I know you're from South Louisiana, boy. I hear that accent. But the point being is, in Louisiana, we don't get anything perfect here either. Don't get me wrong. I brag on us a little bit. Let me just tell you a couple of things we do here that ought to be done all over the country. Now, I'm not for federalizing elections, okay? I'm for honest fairness in elections, period, okay? And everybody kind of does it their own way, but the bad thing is mail-in ballots. I'm just telling you, it's horrible. So here in Louisiana, let me tell you what we do with mail-in ballots. Okay, first of all, mail-in ballots ought to be military that's overseas and for people who are disabled or really old that can't get there. So that 99% of the ballots, people ought to have to go vote. But here what we do is we have early elections like most states. But on mail-in ballots, they have to be at the registrar's office 4:30 the day before the election. I want you to think about that. There's no chance of saying, oh, we found some mail-in ballots or we got drops of mail-in ballots the day of the election. That's not allowed here. Okay? You have to actually turn them in and send them in enough time. And they start counting those ballots the next day when election day is going on. So about the time that election polls close, we're getting ready to have a batch of election numbers that start coming in around the state. And what they basically do is start counting those ballots first. That's the first one's counted. And then everything through the machines and it's backed up, and I'm not going to go through all the process, but the bottom line is you get it. So there's no way for somebody to say, wow, I found 4,000 ballots in a trunk of a car. I found 4,000 ballots at the school where they did the election. Somebody put 2 big boxes of ballots in a closet. I don't know why they did that, but hey, we found them a day late. They don't count. They shouldn't count. You see, you have to have rules going into the election that you stick with. Exactly. Let me give you an example. If you was watching a football game and your team is trying to hold a team and you up by 2 or 3 points, up 3 points, and the team drives down the field and they set up a field goal and they kick a field goal and it's good. And you're down, your team is basically down 3 points and you kick the field goal. Okay, follow me on this. They kick the field goal, so it should be a tie game, right? But what if the referee said, no, we're counting field goals as 4 points now. It's good. The other teams win ball game. You would go nuts. You would go crazy. I would too, because the rules say a field goal is 3 points. The referees can't change the game during the game. And this is what happened during the 2020. And this is what I think still happened in Nevada and Arizona and some of these places where things are closed. I mean, when I start hearing drop boxes, when I start hearing dropping ballots off, I cringe. And that's what's happened in Nevada. That's what's happened in Arizona. I mean, in one of the states, they dropped off 290,000 ballots the day of the election. And they're still counting days later. And there's rules where if you mail in a ballot, you got 5 days after to get your ballot in, as long as it's postmarked correctly. Those are the things that is making America pull a hair out. This elections ought to be simple, folks. Okay, it ought to be the most simplest things we do is vote and make it fair for everybody. Yet, why has it become complicated? And you notice it's only complicated in the swing states that you know is going to make the difference. Example, Florida. Florida counted over 7,000 votes. They had it all done by about 10 o'clock that night. Done, finished. Now, why wasn't there a mistake in Florida's ballot? Because it's not a swing state anymore. It's basically a red state. But it's not a mistake. It wasn't a mistake in Louisiana, which is basically a red state. Take New York. No problem in New York. It's basically a blue state. Colorado, no problems, a blue state. But it's always funny, the swing states that we had during the 2020 election, it was Pennsylvania, but it really was just Philadelphia. And Georgia was Georgia, but it really was just Fulton County. Okay? And now it's Maricopa. Okay? That's what everybody's focusing on in Arizona. In Nevada, it's about Las Vegas. And it's always the bluest areas that this is taking place. And it shouldn't be like that. Now, look, this is America. Dang, it's America. Everybody has a right to vote, but you got to play by the rules. And all the rules should be set. Very simple, everything up front. All you have to do is do several things, and I'm getting ready to explain what ought to happen in every state in America. Okay, and I got about 6 things. First of all, you should have to register in person. None of this mail-in, none of these ballots that you can go vote, and if you're not a registered voter, they take your ballot and move it to the side, and then they go see if you registered on time. That is fraud waiting to happen. So if I move to another area of the state, another area of the country, and I want to register to vote, I should have to go in and prove who I am with a simple ID. Who would be against that? Democrats aren't happy about that, but who would be against that? Number 2, you should have to vote in person unless you're military overseas Are you somebody with disabilities or an older person, and you, way before an election, you let them know I need to do some kind of mail-in ballot. Once again, you got to show your ID. You have to prove who you are before you do that. Okay, you must have an ID to vote every time. Mail-in ballots should absolutely, should be done away with. There should not be a mail-in ballot. Ballots that come in the day of the election, day after the election, 3 weeks after the election. You know, in Pennsylvania, they changed the way they counted that morning. There was a commission that on a 2-to-1 vote. They changed the way they were going to count votes, which was supposed to slow down the vote. Now, that was an election day deal that they made, that they took a vote on, but yet Pennsylvania has one of the longest early voting than any state. I believe they are the longest. I think they vote for like 30 days. So somewhere in that neighborhood. But they changed the rules the day of the election. And this is the kind of stuff that you can't let happen. And so we have to count mail-in ballots first. It ought to be counted immediately, that there are no other ballots, none whatsoever, for us to have to worry about. Folks, what I've just talked to you about is 1 + 1 = 2. Common Core might be 5, but you get my picture. Everything should be slowed down. The technology. We've come so far in what we're doing. So far in what we're doing, and yet we can't get elections right. That blows my mind. How in the world can we do this in the United States of America? We're not a third world country. We're not that stupid. But here's what happened, is by design. I always wondered, why do we have to count ballots days after and weeks after? What would be the reason to do that? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought there's one reason to do that, if you want to cheat. I mean, you got rules for everything you do in life. If you go to work for somebody, there's rules. What time you got to be there, what time you got to work till, what's your job description, okay? You go get driver's license. You got to go in line. You got to get to the driver's license place at a certain time. You got to bring money. You got to cash normally. You got to have an ID. You got to have all that. You got to be able to prove who you are. It takes an ID to do everything. The other day I cashed a check. They made me give a driver's license. The other day I stayed at a hotel. I was at a hotel a few nights ago. And you know, it's funny. They asked for my ID and they asked for my credit card. And what's funny about that is I didn't jump up and down and say, well, this is racism. This is wrong. What are you deprived? Why are you against me? Because I got gray hair? I mean, I could have jumped up and down. Why do you want my ID? But I didn't. But in a simple thing like voting, which is so crucial to the United States of America remaining a republic, not a democracy, a republic, is so important, folks, that we have IDs. And it's very important that you have IDs to get elected. And so this is simple, but it's been made to be complicated. It's been made to be complicated on purpose. And when somebody controls the state, the governors and people like that, when they control the state, they're the ones that allow this to take place. Ron DeSantis, like him or not, I love Ron DeSantis, but like him or not, Ron DeSantis, they went to Florida. And Florida used to be a joke of an election place, especially down south in Miami-Dade. So I'll straighten up. Ron DeSantis fired people. And all we want to do is make elections honest and fair. That's it. Now, when people say, well, y'all trying to do this, I was looking at Stacey Abrams. All the people was record turnout in Georgia, record turnout in Fulton County. And all the people were saying, voter suppression, voter suppression. There's no voter suppression, folks. There's absolutely no voter suppression. It's just a word that's being used to get people mad. And so elections need to be simple. We need to take back the process for everybody. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If a Democrat wins on Tuesday night when we have an election, then that's what the people wanted. I'll live with it. You know, and that reminds me, one last thing before we close up today. I just want to let you know, when you vote for somebody, I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat, if that person has not been doing right, when you reelect that person, what you told that person was keep doing what you've been doing. You know, Mark Kelly's going back in at Arizona as a United States Senator. They got border problems at Arizona. There's fentanyl problems at Arizona. The people voted for Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's not going to change. He's not going to change anything he believes anything he's been doing because you just said what you're doing, keep doing. And that's what happens when you vote for somebody. You're voting for someone, either you're voting against someone to get rid of them or you're voting for them to keep doing what they've been doing. Unfortunately, we've got people that vote for the Democrats. Open border, fentanyl. Crime is outrageous right now. Food prices, the Green New Deal. Ooh, we're going to hell in a handbag. Debt, the schools with CRT, vaccine mandate for kids, gender, short supplies and all the stuff that we got. Formula, I got two new grandbabies coming any day now. And I hope they got plenty of baby formula, but I'm not trusting Joe. When you voted for the Democrats, what you said is keep doing what you've been doing. Well, what they've been doing is destroying America and hurting our families and hurting our way of living and trying to take it away. So if people want to go that direction, folks, it's going to be hard to turn it around. And this election results, when I look at it, especially in the Senate, if the Democrats keep it, they're going to look around and say, people voted for us. They voted for us because they like what we were doing. And I got to be honest with you. If it's all honest elections, they would be right. So they're going to keep running the country into the ground. And we have to take a stand. Hey, we got hope. God's good. We got hope. We got to hang in there and see what happens the rest of the run. And anyway, those are a couple of things I wanted to cover today. So don't forget to join me, Moon Griffon. Our podcast will be on all the major places that you can get podcasts. Make sure you subscribe as we try to grow this. We do it about once a week right now, hoping up the road to do it every day. But tell somebody about us. Make sure you tell them about the Moon Griffon Show, moongriffon.com. You can email me anytime you want to. But make sure when you go to the podcast, subscribe. Please. God bless. Have a great day.